Hello, Gardens shoppers, and thank you for your permanent Christmas tree purchase. I'm here today to assist you with learning how to plug your Christmas tree in. Now, we have a lot of different types of Christmas trees here at Gardens, a lot of different types of pre-lit trees, and many of those pre-lit trees are plugged in differently depending on the type of light that you have and the style of light, whether it's an incandescent tree like this Grand Marais on my left side here, or an LED lit tree like the Grand Marais on my right hand side here. We're also going to be going through a few other types of lights for you further on in this video to give you the best possible shot of easily assembling your tree, plugging it in, and being ready to decorate and have a beautiful permanent Christmas tree in your home this year. So let's get started. I'm going to start with our traditional incandescent lit tree. So what is an incandescent light? I'm going to go ahead and take off a little light here so that we can get it close above it. And if you look at this light, I'm going to put it on my palm so it's maybe a little bit easier to see contrast. You can tell that an incandescent light is the old-fashioned type of light that we grew up with. It has a tiny little filament connected in between two rods. And when electricity is run through the circuit, that filament begins to glow, and that is what causes the light. So it's basically light through heat. We're going to connect the electrical on this incandescent tree. So what I like to do is I like to start at the top and I like to work my way down, and then once I have everything in the tree plugged in, I'm going to plug it into the wall. Now it's important not to plug your tree in before you have everything connected. While Christmas trees are very safe, you don't want to run even a minor risk of getting in contact with that electricity, right? So you, just like when you turn off a light switch to change a light bulb, please make sure that your tree is unplugged as you make these connections. And then once the tree is fully connected, then you can plug it into the wall. So we're going to start with our top section here. And as you can see on this incandescent lit tree, it actually has a little sign that says plug into the wiring harness located on the section below. So here's my plugs. This is for the top third of my tree here, and I'm going to locate my wiring harness. Now on this tree, I'm going to spin around a little bit. We can locate our wiring harness here by all of the green tape that is on the tree branches. So you can see here's my wiring harness. It has, about 3 plugs plugged into it, and this will vary. The amount of plugs that are plugged into the wiring harnesses will vary depending on how many light strings are on your tree, top and bottom. This particular Grand Marais 6.5-foot tree has 3 plugs plugged into the wiring harness already. And now I'm going to take my 2 plugs from the top and I'm going to go ahead. You note that the plugs, some of them are polarized, some of them are not. So polarized is when one side of the tree plug is bigger than the other. These two are matching the same size. They're not polarized, so it doesn't really matter. I could do it this way or this way. I'm just going to go ahead and plug them right in. Now, it's really important when you're working with your Christmas tree electrical never to undo your green tape. If you have something that's taped or capped, please leave it alone. It's been done that way at the factory for your convenience to make it easy to figure out what you do and do not have to unplug when you take down your Christmas tree or put it together. So make sure that you never touch your green tape. Leave it alone. If over the years it starts to degrade, grab yourself some electrical tape and redo that taping system so that when it comes time to build or take down your Christmas tree, you aren't confused as to what you do and do not have to unplug. Okay, so there's our harnessing system. It's all ready to go. I've plugged in the top of my tree to the middle section of my tree. And now we're going to move down into the bottom of our tree. We're going to spin the tree right around again so that you can see here's my second wiring harness here on the bottom of the tree. And again, you can see that green tape, which is connecting all of the light plugs that we do not have to touch right to that second section of our wiring harness. Now, when you put your tree together, odds are you're going to have your second section kind of hanging out just in the middle of the tree here. So what you want to do to just, nobody likes to see this. It's not pretty, right? You want to see ornaments on the outside of your tree, not your plug-in. So you're going to take your plug, and I'm going to turn the tree again so it's easy to see, and I'm going to tuck this as close to the trunk of the tree as I can so that the wiring is not in the front of the tree. It's in the middle and the back of the tree so I don't have to look at it. So here I am, I'm just kind of plugging it, and just running it right behind all of these strings of lights. There we go. Again, so that it's just very, very subtle. I'm not looking at lights wiring when I'm decorating my tree. I'm just looking at the beautiful tree itself. So now that I have my plug-in right next to the trunk of the tree, I'm going to go ahead again and plug it into the harness. And there we go. We have completed plugging in our incandescent tree. So that was really easy. It was 2 plugs. This is very typical for all of our 6.5 and 7.5 foot incandescent lit trees. You're only going to have the 2 plugins, the top to the middle and the middle to the bottom. So very, very straightforward. Now that I have done all of my plugs of all of my section, I can go ahead and I can plug the tree in. Now we recommend at home to plug your tree directly into the wall socket. Because we're at display here in the store, I'm going to use an extension cord, but for safety, we always recommend, if you can, plug it right into the wall. Okay, so here we go. We're all plugged in. We can do a little bit of extra fluffing to kind of open up the branches that we had to compress as we were plugging in the tree, and we're ready to go. Beautiful. All right, so now we're going to move on to an LED lit tree. So this is the same style of tree, and it is plugged in slightly differently, but it's the same kind of idea, right? So here I have the top of my tree, and I have the middle section of my tree. And you can see that on an LED lit tree, you're actually not using that standard kind of fork-shaped plug. You're using a little round circular plug. And National Tree Company, who's the manufacturer for these Gabriel trees, actually has labeled which pieces you need to plug in with these pretty colored tape pieces, so that I'm not trying to figure out, well, okay, which of the many different circular guys should I be plugging in? Here we have blue to blue. So we're going to take our blue top and our blue middle section, we're going to plug them in. So you want to match your shapes. It's just like a shape matching game when you were a kid, right? So the flat side to the flat side, it'll just go straight in like that. And then you're going to put your fastener in so that as you're decorating, nothing pulls loose. Okay, so this is protecting your connection from pulling loose. I'm going to tighten it all the way down there, and then I'm going to tuck it right into the middle of the tree so that I don't have to look at it. So again, once you've plugged it in, you can kind of tuck it back. It is not taped down like the wiring harness on the incandescent lit tree is. It's kind of free, connected to those 2 pieces of wire, so you can kind of just tuck it back there so that it's not as obvious, but it's not going to be taped down the way that an incandescent lit tree is taped down. Okay, so now I've got the top plugged into my middle. Now I'm going to plug in my middle to my bottom. So now I'm looking for another connective piece. Here I've got a red. So now I have to find my other red, and we're going to plug those 2 in to each other. That should be right here. Okay, so we've got our red middle, and we're going to connect it again to our red bottom. Same process below. I'm going to match my shapes and push in. Okay, very easy. And I'm going to put on my fastener. And there you go. Okay, so I'm going to tuck that back into the back of my tree. I'm going to move my branches over, redo my fluff so that I don't have anything that's kind of is all mashed and compacted after I did my lights. Okay, and there we go. Our tree is ready to be plugged in. When you take all of your pieces out of the box, you're going to notice usually it's a little plastic bag, or sometimes it's in bubble wrap, you're going to have your transformer. And so what you do is you're going to plug this guy in, just like we did with our tree. We want to match our shapes again. Plug that in, and we're going to tighten our fastener to protect that connection. And now we're ready to go. So it's important to remember to use the transformer that comes with your tree, because there's lots of different transformers for lots of different types of output, and you need to have the right one. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect this tree here to our electrical system. And there we go. Now our dual color LED lights are plugged in on our tree. And it's important to note, most of our dual color LED trees will come with this little red box here. And this is how we change the output of what the LED diodes are doing. Either with your foot or your hand, you're going to touch the pedal and begin to cycle through your settings here. So here's our slow fade on our multi. And here's back and forth between the warm white and the multicolor on a fast flash. That's off. So if you ever have to turn the tree off, but you don't want to unplug the tree, you have an off setting. And here is our steady on warm white. And back again to our study on multi.